live. We are in the bantamweight division for this matchup. Firstly, introducing our blue corner. Weighing in at 61.5 kilos, his fight record, 4 fights, 3 victories. Training under Simon Carson, fighting out of Absolute MMA in Melbourne. Please welcome Kakembo. The red corner, weighing in at 61.6 kilos, 6 fights, 5 victories. He trains under Vince Perry at the Puma MMA gym on the Gold Coast, James Sargison.
Nakia Melody, our referee in charge. This bantamweight bout scheduled for 3 3-minute rounds. Tina and Nathan cage side. Good to be with you, ladies and gentlemen, alongside Jake Anderson.
Yeah, the Muay Thai striker Kakembo against the BJJ brown belt of James Sargison. It's a fantastic matchup between striker and grappler, and Jimmy just dives on the legs. Underhook by Kakembo, trying to fight off the takedown.
Doing a good job of keeping those hips square off the cage.
Yeah, James just holding on to that single leg. Really trying to get that takedown, but that underhook from Kakembo on that left side is fantastic. He's also got the chin strap, almost like a headlock on James. Keeping James honest on that side. His head went a little bright red there, which means there was something to it.
Very relaxed is Simakade Kakembo. James Sargison, as you said, this is where he would like to keep the fight in close.
Yeah, this is James's bread and butter. He's a grinder. Even if he can't get the takedown, transitions to a body lock. Look at that underhook of Kakembo on both sides, and James still gets the takedown.
And hard work pays off as he takes Kakembo down. James Sargison,
most
very comfortable. Here we are.
Look at James just crushing the hips there. Gets one hook in on one side. Kakembo's about to give his back up.
But he finds himself on top. Great work by
he thought he did. He thought he did, but James he's scrambling here. And now Kakembo comes out on top. James working to get into a single leg position again. That is a really good telling point for Kakembo. If he can hang in there, if he can get underneath James Sargison and stand back to his feet, massive.
Absolutely.
Massive. If he can avoid the strengths of James, huge for him in this fight.
Kakembo doing a great job of defending so far, and he looks quite relaxed.
He does.
We saw him dance to the cage during his walkout. He has kept that same mood as we fight here tonight. James Sargison continues to work as he lands a nice left hook behind the ear.
Deep underhook from James. You can see his right hand coming through. Goes to a single leg. He just didn't really have the connection there.
Big knee there by Kakembo.
Yeah. Almost another one. But he compromises his position when he does so. He threw that knee and compromised his balance.
And that's the risk you face. However, he seems to be okay once again.
He keeps getting these underhooks. Kakembo is so savvy with them. He's like a forklift. He gets those underhooks underneath and starts lifting James up and away from his hips. And look at James, just so dogged. Joins his hands together, isolates a leg. And another takedown. But Kakembo, he's immediately in a position where he can stand up again. He tripods, puts his hand out, and starts trying to get his hips back up in the air, gets his feet underneath him. Fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic job there by Kakembo.
I mean, he's probably not winning the round, but for him to hang in there against the strengths of James, this is James's bread and butter. And James hasn't got a submission off. He hasn't really stayed in a dominant position.
Well, I'll tell you something, with our new scoring system, you'd have to think that Kakembo would have favour in the eyes of the judges, even if he doesn't win this round.
Yeah, very possible.
A big win in the mental mindset of Simakade Kakembo.
I mean, possibly. It depends how the judges look at it. James was the one initiating, and he was the one pressing the action. If that's what the judges are looking for, which more than likely. Kakembo just hanging in there. Hanging in there. Sage advice from the corner. Absolute MMA. Talking to him about the underhooks. Turning. We can see that movement there. Turning James. Push down with the head side. Use the underhook to lift. Which is what he did, and to great effect.
As we count down the final seconds of this fight, a huge thanks to those joining us on our live stream and to those in attendance. We are being treated to some Superior and Prime Mixed Martial Arts here tonight at the Southpaw Shark Sports Club. Our main event, Casey O'Neill, strawweight title on the line versus Jada Ketley. Back to the action here, Nakia Melody, Sargison versus Kakembo.
Yeah, and what a corner for James Sargison. He has the former flyweight champion, Tim Quickdraw Moore, who's recently retired from MMA competition. He'll be sorely missed. And Reese, Lightning McLaren, former bantamweight champion. James quickly puts his hands back up. Oh, I think he cracked Kakembo there. And immediately he goes back to the game plan, jumps in on the hips. Big takedown incoming for James. Whoa, he just lightly put him down. I thought a slam was incoming then. What a gentleman.
And I tell you what, Jake Anderson, your level of excitement, I wish it matched James's level of excitement as he gently lays Kakembo down.
You know what? James did the right thing. If it was me, I'd probably go for a big Showtime slam and he'd probably get up. Kakembo trying to work mission control here, former rubber guard. Trying to isolate that arm of James. It's in the pocket. It's in the left pocket of Kakembo. You can go to an omoplata from there, work a shoulder lock. He's cutting the angle very nicely. Very nicely. James is just a little bit tangled up in the guard. Look at how he's isolating the arm of James, the head of James, all inside that pocket. This is smart from Kakembo. He could get a stand up from here. I mean, he's got to be urgent if he does get stood up and gets back to his feet because he's burning time here on the bottom. But if this is somewhere he doesn't want to be with a brown belt, which is exactly what's going on.
Halfway through our second round, Kakembo doing a good job of not giving James Sargison any advantage as he looks for a triangle, but however,
he does.
To no avail.
James, very savvy, gets that elbow back in. James needs to work the pound here. Kakembo needs to put his feet on the hips, open up the guard and try and do something. Try to stand up, try to submit, try to sweep. He needs urgency. Goes for a triangle again. Tries to bring James down into it, and he does.
You can see, Jake, the superior experience of a guy like James Sargison.
Yeah, even with these arm outside and a potential triangle happening, James knows what side to go to try and negate cutting the angle. He's locking it up, is Kakembo. But he needs to get that left foot in front of James's left shoulder. There's just too much space there. Essentially, he's biting off more than he can chew with that choke. There's just too much within that triangle to cinch it up and make it tight.
James, sorry, Jake. Sorry to cut you
No,
off.
you're right. And James is just framing with that left elbow. As we can see, it's poking out the side there. So he's making space in doing so. Your turn, mate.
I couldn't agree with you more. I tell you what. I think, like we were saying earlier on, if you can work from the bottom, you can impress the judges.
You can.
And I'll tell you what, Kakembo seems to me to be in a more dominant position. He's isolated an arm, he's worked a triangle. How will this sit in the minds of the judges?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's not worth nothing. Going for submissions, keeping James honest. It's very, very interesting. I mean, a moral victory the first and second rounds for Kakembo against the grappler in James Sargison. First round, James really struggled to get him down. The second round, he survived on the ground against James Sargison, the grappler. So, I mean, he probably didn't win those rounds, not in my book. But James was not able to take over the fight. He wasn't able to submit him. He didn't get to a dominant position. He didn't pass his guard. He didn't force him to give up his back or anything in any standing exchanges. So, like I said, a moral victory there for Kakembo.
As we count down the final seconds of round number 3, Dave Ella has our mentions for our sponsors.
Big thanks to Ads On, big supporters of Eternal since inception, designing all the transfers on the cage at all Eternal MMA events. Ads On.
Third and final round, Kakembo versus Sargison. And
immediately.
It has been a grappling fest,
yeah,
to say
James,
the least, Jake.
James comes forward. He doesn't want any space between him and Kakembo, even on the feet. He wants to be in his kitchen. He wants his forehead on his chest, and he's doing anything to do just that.
And he's starting to be comfortable here, landing shots from the inside.
He is, but James is dropping his hands. And look, Kakembo, I think he's picking up on it. I think he's picking up on that there's openings there.
Yeah, and you could see that spinning back kick coming.
I mean, James was just willing to eat any of those kicks just to come in close, take away some of that space, and start working again. Immediately, Kakembo goes back into the underhook, and he smiles at James's corner and he says, "No thanks, mate, not today." That's beautiful with that underhook, but James is dragging that leg. James is coming around to take his back. The only thing stopping him is the cage. It's helping Kakembo in that he's keeping him up, and it's also keeping James off his back. That's why James is trying to get that dominant angle around. He needs to follow his right hand. So hard with the cage there, and Kakembo knows this.
Oh, beautiful framing there by Kakembo, and he breaks easily. And this is where he wants to be, on the outside of Sargison, landing strikes as he does so.
James looks tired. He's breathing through his mouth, and he doesn't have the same pop as he does in
Left
the previous
hook landed
rounds.
there.
Yeah, almost in front of
Sargison.
us here. We might see Kakembo start to take over. There's half a round left in the third. He's 2 rounds down. If he's ever going to do it, it needs to be right now. James getting another body lock. Tired as he may be. Working the knees. Kakembo using it, following that underhook. So smart, listening to his corner.
With absolutely no disrespect to James Sargison, if you ask me who the more active fighter is here, I'd have to say Kakembo. My mind has absolutely changed in a heartbeat as James Sargison.
Yeah, I think Kakembo, he's the more active
Works
fighter
a
because he
takedown.
almost has to be. Because James is putting him against the cage. He's fighting for takedowns. But then it's not the most action-packed thing that we've ever seen.
A very technical bout here. Adds on our official sponsors of this bout. A huge thanks to them, as well as our other platinum sponsors who have made this event possible. Eternal 46. Strawweight title is on the line, and we have a list of professional bouts coming your way. Names like Jimmy O'Brien, Chelsea Hackett, Daniel Almeida, John Fraser, making up our main card in the professional ranks tonight. Looking forward to that. And back to the action here. Sargison versus Kakembo. Seconds down of our third and final round. Nakia Melody acknowledges.
Big knees for Kakembo.
Can we see something here in the final 5?
I mean, there it is!
Oh my goodness! This fight is over!
That is over! I think that's it! I think Nakia Melody just called it!
Has waved this fight off,
Whoa!
and Samakati Kakembo knocks out James Sargison
He was seriously
with a
hurt.
flying knee. My goodness!
Have you ever seen anything like it? Jake Anderson.
There it is there.
Whoa! Yeah, James's feet weren't underneath him. He was on ice skates. It was a good thing to do to call that fight. I mean, he was out. He wasn't. It looks like they're deliberating. It might not be an end of the fight. It could be a judge's decision, in which arguably James could have had 2 rounds.
Well, let me tell you, if
I think the fight was over.
let me tell you, if this does change, we go to Dave Ella for an official decision.
We might
and
expect
quite
a riot.
possibly a surprise.
Yeah. It looks like we're going to a decision.
All right,
Kakembo does
ladies
not
and
look happy.
gentlemen, after 3 rounds of MMA, we go to the judges' scorecards. The winner, by unanimous decision, the blue corner, Samakati Kakembo.
And as we were saying, Jake, we have a reversal of decision, not a knockout win for Samakati Kakembo, however, a unanimous decision win for the blue corner.
Yeah, interesting. Like you said, mate, he was very, very active, especially on the bottom. James couldn't get past his guard. He was moving his hips, he was putting up frames, and he was shutting James down. He threw up some submission attempts. Even though they didn't get close, he was more active. You were right.